All right, let's talk about one of the most incredible feats of biological engineering out there, the female reproductive system. It's a fascinating story of hormones, perfect timing, and this amazing monthly cycle of renewal. So, let's dive right in. So, let's start with a number. 300,000. That's roughly how many immature egg cells a female has in her ovaries when she hits puberty. That is a huge reserve, just sitting there, ready and waiting. But, out of all those potential candidates, how in the world does the body pick just one? Just one out of those hundreds of thousands of cells to mature and get released every single month? Well, that's the big question we're going to tackle today. We're going to follow the incredible journey of that one single egg, from where it starts to where it ends up. Okay, so every journey has a starting point, right? For our little egg, that journey begins inside a system of really specialized organs, and they all have to work together in this perfectly choreographed dance. So here they are, the key players in our story. You can see them on this diagram. We've got the ovaries, the fallopian tubes, and the uterus. Each one has a super critical role to play in the egg's journey. Let's take a look at them one by one. First up, the ovaries. You can think of these as the vault, right? This is where those 300,000 potential eggs are safely stored. Each month, a whole process of development kicks off right here, getting a few candidates ready until one is chosen to start its journey. Next, we have the pathway, the fallopian tubes. These are the channels that connect the ovaries to the uterus. And once an egg is released, these tiny little hair-like structures gently sweep it along its path. This tube is the meeting place. It's where fertilization happens, if it's going to happen. And finally, the destination, the uterus. This is an incredibly powerful pear-shaped organ. Its inner lining, which is called the endometrium, gets itself ready every single month. It thickens up with blood and nutrients, creating this really welcoming home, just in case a fertilized egg shows up. So now that we've met the key players, let's look at the timeline. Because these parts, they don't just act randomly. Oh no, they are all governed by a complex, hormone-driven schedule, and we call that schedule the menstrual cycle. Now here's something really cool. The menstrual cycle isn't just one cycle. It's actually two perfectly synchronized cycles happening at the exact same time. You've got the ovarian cycle, which is busy getting an egg ready for release, and at the same time, the uterine cycle is preparing a place for it to land. They have to work in perfect harmony. So here's a look at the average 28-day timeline. The very first day of menstruation, that's day 1. That leads into what we call the follicular phase, where the egg matures, and that all builds up to ovulation, right around day 14. The second half of the cycle is the luteal phase, and that's what decides what happens next. This first half of the cycle is all about multitasking. Even as menstruation is happening, the body is already gearing up for the next possibility. Over in the ovary, a follicle starts to mature its egg, and as it grows, it releases estrogen, which is basically a hormonal message sent over to the uterus that says, hey, get ready, it's time to rebuild. All this prep work, right? The hormonal signals, the uterine construction, it's all building towards one single critical moment, right in the middle of the cycle. Ovulation. This is the main event. The now fully matured follicle, the Graafian follicle, it ruptures and releases its single egg. This is the moment the entire cycle has been working towards. A really brief window, maybe 12 to 24 hours, where pregnancy is actually possible. So what exactly triggers this dramatic release? Well, it's basically a hormonal flash flood. A huge spike in something called luteinizing hormone, or LH, gives that follicle the final push it needs to just burst open. But wait, the story of that follicle isn't over yet. The empty sac that's left behind in the ovary actually transforms. It becomes a brand new structure called the corpus luteum. This little yellow body becomes a temporary hormone factory, and its main job is to pump out progesterone. So once the egg is out and the corpus luteum is doing its thing, the cycle reaches this critical crossroads, and the path it takes from here depends entirely on one single event, whether or not that egg meets a sperm. So from this point on, one of two things is going to happen, and it all hinges on whether that egg gets fertilized. Let's follow both possible paths and see where they lead.
Okay, path number 1. Fertilization happens. The newly formed zygote starts dividing as it travels down to the uterus over the next week or so. And remember all that progesterone from the corpus luteum? Well, it made the uterine wall thick and cozy and ready. The embryo then implants into this lining, and that signals the official start of a pregnancy.
But what if there's no fertilization? Well, the unfertilized egg doesn't stick around for long. It disintegrates in about a day. Without a pregnancy signal, the corpus luteum breaks down too. This causes progesterone levels to just plummet. And that sudden drop is the trigger that tells the uterine lining, okay, time to break down, and the whole cycle starts all over again with menstruation.
Now, this monthly cycle, as amazing as it is, doesn't go on forever. It's actually framed by two major life events that mark the beginning and the end of a woman's reproductive years.
You can think of these two events as the bookends of this whole reproductive story. Menarche is the beginning, the very first cycle, which usually happens around age 13. And menopause is the end, when the cycle permanently stops, typically somewhere between 45 and 55.
So if you do the math, one egg released pretty much every month, over a reproductive span of about 32 years, it comes out to roughly 384 mature eggs released in a lifetime. I mean, think about that. You start with a pool of 300,000, and only this tiny fraction actually completes the whole journey.
And that really brings us back to the fundamental point of all this. This whole intricate hormonal dance, this monthly construction and deconstruction, it really all serves one primary biological goal: to make pregnancy possible.
I mean, really think about it. From a pool of hundreds of thousands, a single cell is chosen. A whole system builds itself up in anticipation, and if its purpose isn't met, it just gracefully resets and begins all over again, month after month for decades. It's such a profound display of biological resilience and all that untapped potential. Thanks for joining us.